We've taken care of the lake. Let's move on to our stream. Let's go to Plan View, open the View Preferences. And let's change the overlay gradient type from Earth elevation to contours. That'll make it easier to trace our drainage. Close that out. We can give ourselves some room here to work with in the Plan View. Undock the view and drag it out. Like lakes, streams are a two-step process. First, we dig a stream bed with a linear Terraffector. Then we add a stream, which means we need to go over to the Terrain Task Mode, select the Terraffector's category, and create a component of this type with a path or vector. That will bring up the Create window. On the mouse page, make sure that we are in the single mode. That is, we're going to add a point for each mouse click. Start inside the lake vector and just click some points in here. You can do the best you can to follow the drainage, but we don't have much to work with at this resolution. Right-click when you're done. Name it Stream. Confirm that you want to add that stream vector to the stream Terraffector. We could use one of the components in the gallery, but we're going to make our own from scratch, so close out the component gallery. In the Terraffector editor, edit cross-section profile. Like an area Terraffector, a Terraffector uses a profile to control the way the terrain is affected. Unlike an area Terraffector, a Terraffector is a linear feature based on a vector line, not a closed shape. There is no default profile here. We have to build it ourselves. The leftmost point, the only point, is the vector. Terrain will be affected outward on both sides and the ends based on this profile. To start with, along the vector center line, let's change the value to -3 meters. Change the tension to 1. Let's add some points. Add point, click one. Add point, click another. The rightmost point, let's change its distance to 15 meters. Value to 0. That's going to be edge of our stream bed. Tension 1. Second point, let's move it over to a distance of 10 meters. And we'll just click and drag to move it up so that we have something like this. It's flat and it starts to rise. You may have already noticed you can click and drag to move this up and down. If you want to move it left and right, that's a control click to go left and right. Profile. Turn to the elevation page in the editor, and let's make the elevation type relative to vector elevation. Under comparison, decrease only. No matter what happens, we only want to dig a stream bed. Save the project. Let's go ahead and dock up our plan view and render a lake view. Undoubtedly, you'll have some sharper turns in the curve than you'd like. On the general page of the editor, we have a spline vectors option. Click that. Save the project, render a preview. Don't expect your first stream to look as good as your first lake. Streams are small features. They usually cut in a terrain that has a much lower resolution than the stream feature, so they're tough to make look good up close like we're doing here. Let's activate the stream vector. Plan view, try Alt-clicking it. Here we go. Show points from the toolbar. By default, all the points are selected and they show up in red. To see what that vector looks like in profile, open the database editor. The stream is the active item, so we should be able to just click on the Edit Vector Profile. That brings up the Vector Profile Editor. The Profile Editor shows elevation on the vertical axis and distance along the vector on the horizontal axis. The vector is represented by a red line, which is difficult to see because it's hidden behind the green line that's the ground. All the vertices are currently active. If you use the Next button, That will make just the next point active. And let's increase its elevation to 2070 just to see what happens. Bops that up. Let's see what happens in the lake view when we render this. F9. That second vertex has been raised. And what we see is that instead of going into the lake, the stream now stops here because this is the point where the vector comes above the ground. Because we are set to decrease only with this Terraffector, raising that vertex raises the ground only to its original level. If we go back here to the editor, undo, keep that, save the project and render a preview, we'll see that we're back to where we started with our stream running all the way to the lake.